complaints against OSU, a new way to look at travel, and a drought in Texas. All that and more right here on the Beaver News.
Good evening and welcome to your Tuesday night edition of the Beaver News. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Mary Johnson.
And I'm Hayden Wilcox. The Able Student Alliance at Oregon State University, frustrated at what it sees as a lack of action by the administration, has filed another 10 complaints about campus buildings. Kristen Pugmire of the Daily Barometer reports that the areas listed in the complaints include the Milam Hall ramp, the Linus Pauling Science Center, and the entrance to Gilfillan Auditorium, among others. ASA President Jeffrey Evans says that he has been issuing complaints to the Office of Equity and Inclusion since 2009, but has yet to see the university take action and solve the problem, adding, quote, "We told them there weren't enough disabled parking spaces serving the intramural fields in November 2010, before they finished the project. Nothing has changed. We told them that the ramp into Gill Coliseum was a violation in October 2010. Nothing has changed. We told them the ramp serving Gilfillan was dangerous in September 2011. Still, nothing has changed."
Tonight at 8 p.m., the Associated Students of Oregon State University is hosting an open town hall meeting, as reported by Kristen Pugmire of the Daily Barometer. The is to gather student opinions on how to better represent the students of Oregon State. What prompted the town hall meeting was Bill SB 7101, which was introduced last term. This bill would give a seat to representatives from several on-campus organizations, which would double the number of senators. Senator Crystal Boyd mentioned that the bill was vague and needed some refining. The goal of this meeting is to make people feel like their voices are heard and that the bill is clear, because 15% of the OSU students need to vote in order to become a constitutional amendment. According to Boyd, it's going to take a lot of compromising and a lot of talking, but I'm hoping we'll figure out something that will be agreeable to everybody.
Traveling abroad has always been seen as highly educational and in terms of social, cultural, and creative aspects since the 1700s. In the 20th century, this idea was somewhat lost, as many people found traveling as a way of hedonistic escape. Theme parks and leisure resorts were grand attractions, and many would almost dismiss the culture and of the environment in which they were in. Well, not anymore. According to a study by the university, educational tourism is back on the rise as many people are returning to the old ways of cultural and geographical sightseeing. John Falk, professor of science education at OSU, said that this so-called free choice learning, engaged by participating in personal interests, boosts educational growth far beyond what can be established in schools or in formal learning environments. Quote, "You're already seeing many operators and travel agencies offer educational opportunities, things like whale watching and ecotourism. The National Park Service does a great job with its resources, teaching people about science, geology, and history. We're convinced that this is just the beginning of a major shift in how people want to spend their leisure time, and then one that could have important implications for intellectual and cultural growth around the world."
Oregon State University is at the final stage of the Campus Master Plan, a 12-year building and developmental plan. The process started in 2004 and will continue until 2015. The master plan has been modified greatly since the project started. It called for 570 acres of land within the city limits of Corvallis. Also, with the changes in economic circumstances made an impact on the plan. The real factor has been the population expansion that has been expected here at Oregon State. The main projects that have been completed this fall term were the Linus Pauling Science Center, the Howley Ford Center, and the International Living Learning Center. The new Agricultural Science Pavilion is being constructed, and the new College of Business building will begin construction this summer and continue into fall term. One of the biggest upcoming renovation is started. The Strand Agricultural Center is being gutted out at the beginning of fall term.
Oregon State University's Student Media Department is offering workshops for students to increase their skills in a variety of categories. Brown bag workshops are offered Friday afternoons from 12 to 1 p.m. in the Daily Barometer Conference Room located in Snell Hall. However, this Friday, the workshop will be located in Dearborn Hall, room 118, and is required for all students who are taking Practicum 409. Lynn Clenenden of the Oregon Public Broadcasting will be the guest speaker.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only way it ever has, says American anthropologist Margaret Mead. Reported by Callie Schweizer of the Daily Barometer, out of 315 college students surveyed, 63% said they regularly or occasionally volunteer their time for a good cause. Besides it being good for your resume, volunteering gives students life skills and a sense of community everyone needs. If you're interested and feeling motivated to help the Corvallis community, contact the Center for Civic Engagement in Snell Hall, room 158. The Center for Service Engagement puts on several one-day service events every year and conducts individual and group consultations to find service opportunities that fit the interests and passions of others.
Well, we've sure got a whale of a tale to share with you this evening as we dive into a report from the Hatfield Marine Science Center in Newport. According to the university, the Marine Science Center has been tracking a western gray whale and following her migration pattern via satellite. The whale, known as Varvara, is a 9-year-old western gray whale, a species thought to have been hunted to the point of extinction in the 70s. The western gray whale, thought to be connected with the eastern gray whale, a species typically found off the western coast of the United States, has been endangered since the 1990s. Only 130 have ever been seen. The Hatfield Center has been monitoring Varvara's journey from her registration near the Sakhalin Islands in Russia all the way over to Alaska, down past Washington, into Oregon, past California, and down into Mexico. Last year, OSU was lucky enough to have a similar experience when they found and tagged another western gray whale, a 13-year-old male named Flex. Scientists are thrilled to see that Varvara is currently heading towards potential mating grounds, and are hoping that tracking device holds out long enough to further explain the mystery behind this creature.
Last Friday, Oregon State University students came to Milam Auditorium to watch a snowboarding documentary called 1 Year. The documentary was put on by a group of professional snowboarders called Nations Foundation, who share their Christian beliefs through snowboarding. They were brought to Oregon State by Campus Crusade for Christ, a student organization on campus. This documentary featured professional snowboarders Dave Downing, Matt Hammer, Jemmer Mahan Weatherby, J.J. Johnson, Kelly Clark, Eric Willett, Tommy Ketchison, and Andy Finch. Quote, "I thought this movie was very well done. It captured my attention and had a good message. It doesn't get much better than that," said Slater Thompson, a sophomore business major. Andy Finch was able to stay after for students to get their autographs and have discussions. If you're interested in the Campus Crusade for Christ, they meet Thursdays at 8 p.m. in the MU East International Forum. We're going to take a short break, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we have a sports update, a look at your local forecast.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on KBVR. With the weather we're having, we seem to take water for granted. We have so much of it, it's hard to operate our daily lives. But a town in Texas is literally having to import all of its water from around the state. The town of Spicewood Beach, located in central Texas, is having one of the worst droughts in the state's history. Since 2010, the town has been without a steady supply of water, making it the worst drought since 1895. The small communal town of just over 1,000 people is located 30 miles northwest of Austin and is declared a Stage 4 state of water emergency. Currently, all inhabitants are limited strictly to how they may use the water they still have. Water from the communal tanks can only be used for quick bathing purposes, cooking, and drinking. According to CNN, 2 trucks, each holding over 8,000 gallons of water, arrived to the town yesterday afternoon, just after rain started falling on the town. And now for a look at our own weather forecast, we go to Mackenzie Allen.
Good evening, Corvallis. I'm Mackenzie Allen in this weather forecast. Tonight, expect to see a low of 43 degrees. Wednesday, expect to see mainly sunny day with a chance of a few rain breaks in between. We will have a high of 52 and a low of 34 at night. Thursday, We will be having some more sunshine with a high of 50 degrees and an overnight low of 32. Friday, expect to see more sunshine with a high of 54 and a low of 30 at night. And finally, Saturday, we have some partly sunny skies with a high of 54 and a low of 34 at night. We have some nice winter sunny days ahead of us, so enjoy them wisely. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Monroe Street is home to many of the coffee shops that Oregon State students go to in the morning to get that daily cup of coffee. With each coffee shop seems to offer something different and appealing to the diverse student population here at Oregon State. We have the Beanery and Alun Bros Coffee based in Albany. Gwen Shaw, the Daily Barometer, reports that Brew Station was established 3 years ago and their coffee is the best seller. Brew Station hosts many professors and grad students. Next, Dutch Bros. The walk-in Dutch Bros is a one-of-a-kind. The only other walk-in location is its original location in Grants Pass. Corvallis Dutch Brothers serves between 500 and 1,000 customers a day. And the last place on Monroe Street, Inner Zone, serves organic and fair trade coffee. They serve 12 to 15 pounds of coffee per day. So after those long all-nighters, what's your drink of choice?
We've all been there. You're sitting on the couch, watching the Super Bowl with friends and family, when suddenly the show cuts to commercial. Now, whether you watch the game for the sake of the game, or just enjoy watching the commercials, there's definitely a science behind how you are going to react to them. According to the university, the average price of a 30-second time slot during this year's Super Bowl will cost $3.5 million. But a recent study done by the university has shown that commercials are only as effective as the game. Colleen B., sports marketing expert and author of the study, explains that the most important factor in how a message is received is not determined by who is winning, but how intense the game is. In regards to the study, B said, quote, "The idea is that excitement from watching a game is then transferred to a greater feeling of excitement for the ads and brands at the end of the game. We also found that the more stimulating the content of the ad itself, the greater impact the exciting game had on the viewer," end quote. Needless to say, this Sunday's Super Bowl between the Giants and the Patriots shouldn't disappoint.
You're in love, and that's all I think about, you know, says Wilbur Fias of Las Vegas, Nevada. He has been married to his wife, Teresa, for 78 years. They have been recognized as the longest married couple in the United States. They were married on April 14, 1933. Their oldest son, Bob, entered them into the contest and won. He couldn't be more proud. President Obama even offered to recognize them during his stop in Vegas. Fies responded saying, quote, "You must understand that I'm over 100 years of age and that I'm a lot slower than I was at 90, end quote. And for a tip on how to make a marriage last, Fies says, quote, "It's very simple. It's a give and take and compromise."
In an effort to bring himself down to the real world during this election season, President Obama has held an online chat session yesterday using Google+. During the chat session, the president answered real questions from real individuals in real time using a video chat system. As reported by CNN, the president was asked many questions, from what he likes to do when he's not in the White House, what he plans to do for the future, and even if he would mind doing a song and dance for the camera, which he politely refused. The president was even asked how he thought humor in the form of impersonation and satire affected campaigns during election season. To this, the president replied, quote, "I don't know if any of this stuff affects election, but I know that it makes our country stronger that you can make fun of the president or anybody and everybody gets a laugh. And that also makes sure to remind me that I work for you guys," end quote. During the conversation, questions were chosen and moderated by Google employees instead of traditional White House officials to make the conversation lighter. During an interview with a woman from Texas, the president was asked why he was still giving out work visas to immigrants despite the fact that the woman's own husband couldn't get a job in engineering. To which the president replied, quote, "Forward me his resume. The word we're getting is that someone in that high-tech field should be able to find something right away. I want to follow up on that."
CNN reports that an elementary school principal jumped into the frozen Cocheco River in New Hampshire to save a 10-year-old boy who had fallen through the ice. Because of Principal Glenn Rhodes' quick response, the boy was only in the water for a few short minutes. The boy, Andrew, who is only being identified by his first name, is autistic and had run away from his teacher and through the woods after a morning break. When both the teacher and Rose took off after him, they saw him come up within the patch of ice. While people call her a hero, Rose insists that it was the right place, right time. Both Rose and the boy were treated for hypothermia and some bruises, but they are now doing just fine.
It's common practice for criminals to be sentenced to many years or even life in prison if the crime is great enough. But what exactly happens to those prisoners when they get older? Once someone is put away for life, society tends to forget that they exist. But now, with so many life sentences being handed out, many people are wondering what life in prison is like for, say, an 85-year-old or a 90-year-old convict. As reported by CNN, over 10% of the countries incarcerated have been given life sentences, and many prisons are becoming geriatric facilities in the process. According to a recent study done by the Human Rights Watch, the overall cost for maintaining the health of older inmates is 6 to 9 times that of the younger inmates, and that many aspects of traditional jails are simply not meant for older individuals. The Human Rights Watch groups suggest that older inmates who are succumbing to old age are no longer a threat to the community, and that their prolonged stay in penitentiaries is only costing the public more money in taxes.
Hundreds of Iraq War veterans marched in a first-of-its-kind welcome-home ceremony in St. Louis, Missouri, reports CNN. Some participants used motorcycles, others rode in military trucks or on floats, and some walked and greeted the thousands who lined downtown streets. This is the first type of event in a major U.S. city. This event included resources for Iraq and Afghanistan war vets to ease transition into life back home and included finding work. There had been a candlelight vigil the Friday before, honoring more than 6,000 names of service members who had died since September 11th. A bell rang after each name was called. The parade organizers decided to create the event after President Obama's announcement of the end of the Iraq War in December. We'll have more of your national and international news coming up on KBVR. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on KBVR, Channel 26. We all know that orange juice is good for you. With a high concentration of vitamin C, it's good for the immune system and all around tastes good too. But a recent report from the FDA may make you want to rethink your next orange juice purchase. As reported by CNN, several shipments of orange juice imported from Canada and Brazil have been detained this week after traces of carbendazim, an unapproved fungicide, were found in their contents. According to the FDA, this fungicide, while not permitted in the United States, is not deadly in such small doses. In fact, the only country in the world that refuses to allow crops treated with the fungicide is the United States. Both Europe and Latin America allow small quantities of the fungicide to be used in their crops. Since the discovery, all orange juice imports have stopped for the time being, and subsequently orange juice prices have shot up. Currently, Brazil is heavily affected by this production halt because it supplies 85% of the world's orange juice supply. America is the second biggest market for orange juice, next to Europe. The FDA wishes to clarify that despite the freeze in shipments, the product is in no way toxic for human consumption.
A Canadian jury convicted 3 members of a family of Afghan immigrants in the honor murders of 4 female relatives on Sunday, reports CNN. Their bodies were found in Ontario Canal. There was a 3-month trial before coming up with Sunday's verdict. All 3 of them were sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. Investigators claim that the hours and hours of wiretapped conversations reveal a premeditated plan to punish the daughters and their permissive advocate, Rona. Gerald Luthris, a chief prosecutor, said, quote, "This is a good day for Canadian justice. Our democratic society protects the rights of all. It's a very bad day because the jury found that 4 strong, vivacious, and freedom-loving women were murdered by their own family."
Last week, we ran a story about the arrest and subsequent trial of Mega Upload and its founders. Tonight, we'll be continuing that story as we talk about the action taken by the U.S. government in regards to the Mega Upload website. Starting last Thursday, federal prosecutors have been going through and deleting the contents of Mega Upload servers. The ramifications for this are that many perfectly legal files uploaded by people following copyright rules will also be deleted in the process. The founders of Mega Upload, represented by lawyers in Hong Kong, are currently still on trial for running an international organized criminal enterprise, allowing the sharing of pirated movies and other entertainment. As reported by CNN, Mega Upload has over 180 million registered users that it has gathered over a quick 5-year period.
More than 100 people were injured after an earthquake shook Peru early Monday morning. CNN reports that a 6.3 magnitude earthquake hit about 15 kilometers southeast of Ica at the depth of 39.2 kilometers. Civil defense officials report that 119 people were injured and 40 homes were either damaged or destroyed. There was a similar magnitude earthquake that struck the same region in October, leveling dozens of buildings and injuring more than 1,000 people. The most serious damage happened in towns along Peru's Pacific coast, south of Lima.
Thanks to modern technology, underwater treasure hunting has become increasingly popular. Scientists and self-proclaimed treasure hunters around the globe are now using sonar to detect and examine shipwrecks that could yield valuable historical information, or better yet, riches. But some enthusiasts get more than they bargain for. As reported by CNN, a group of Swedish treasure hunters have found something in the Baltic Sea. The trouble is, nobody has a clue as to what it is. Because of advanced sonar technology, determining what an object is based on its shape is relatively easy. However, when the shape is hopelessly abstract, there isn't much you can do. The research team ended up finding a 60-meter diameter cylindrical-shaped object with a 400-meter tail nearly 80 meters below the surface in the Baltic Sea between Finland and Sweden, and so far they haven't had any luck comparing it with anything man-made. Before we close our show tonight, we go to Sam Nicholas for a look at sports.
Thanks, Hayden. Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott announced Monday that Oregon State University's Jared Cunningham has been named Pac-12 Men's Basketball Player of the Week. This is his second time winning the award this season. Cunningham led the Beavers to a 76-71 win over the University of Oregon in Saturday's Civil War showdown, leading his team back from a 10-point deficit. The junior guard scored 24 of his 27 points in the second half and added 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Cunningham also extended his streak of games with at least 1 steal to 23 consecutive contests, which is the 4th longest streak in the school's history. In the rivalry win, Cunningham scored his 1,000th career point, becoming the 36th player in OSU history to achieve that feat. The 17th-ranked Oregon State wrestling team picked up a win this Sunday, beating Stanford 22-14 at Maples Pavilion. Junior Mike Mangrum and redshirt freshmen James Roberts and Scott Sakaguchi scored 12 consecutive points to lead the Beavers to their 9th win of the season. Mangrum and senior Clayton Jack both reached 30 victories on the season in the duel, and Sakaguchi extended his personal win streak to 8 contests. The team will not compete this week due to Oklahoma's cancellation of Friday's previously scheduled duel. The Beavers wrestling will be back in action February 12th when they travel to Ames, Iowa for the Cliff Keen National Duels. 2 school records were broken this past Saturday as the Oregon State track and field team competed in their first indoor meet of the season at the Husky Invitational in Seattle. Senior Laura Carlisle ran the mile in 4 minutes 46.92 seconds, breaking the school record that she herself had set last season by nearly 4 seconds. Freshman football player and track athlete Brandon Cooks set a new school record in the 60-meter dash with a staggering time of 6.81 seconds. The meet was Cook's first track competition as an OSU athlete. The Beavers will continue their young season when they return to Seattle on February 10th to compete in the Husky Classic hosted by the University of Washington. And now a look at professional sports. The Portland Trailblazers fell to the division rival Utah Jazz 89-93 on Monday night, continuing Portland's awful road woes, according to Sports Illustrated. The Blazers are now 3-8 on the road, in shocking contrast to their 9-1 home record at the Rose Garden. And that's your Tuesday Sports Report.
We want to thank you for joining us tonight. Come back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on KBVR News, Channel 26.